Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Spoiler Warning podcast. This is review number 640 with a review of Happiest Season. I'm Christopher Schnese.
And I'm Stephen Miller.
And if you're joining us for the first time, the Spoiler Warning podcast is a weekly film review program. Each week in the show, we're going to dive in, debate, discuss, and argue over the latest films coming to a streaming platform near you. This week, we are talking about two films. One that came to Hulu, and that's this film, Happiest Season. And then we're also going to have a review of Hillbilly Elegy, which also came out this weekend on Netflix. So Happiest Season, this is a film about Christmas, came out the weekend of Thanksgiving. Do you think they nailed this release window, Steven?
I think they did. I mean, it's 2020. Like, everyone's confused about timing. I feel like immediately after Thanksgiving, people are kind of in Christmas mode already, especially without any travel or other delineated things to actually, like, draw the line. So I was ready for it. Like, when I realized I should have known from the name, but I'm stupid. I don't know. I didn't think about it. So I didn't know this was a Christmas movie until I hit play on it. And when I realized it was a Christmas movie, I was like, hell yeah, I'm ready for Christmas. Like, it's cold-ish in the Bay Area. I'm feeling those vibes. I think it's the right window.
So did you also not see any of the art or posters or images in...
Nope, nothing. I saw tweets about it, and I got a text from you saying we should watch this instead of another movie, and I was like, great, sold.
Another movie that shall remain nameless. But yeah, I mean, I'm mostly fine with the fact that this is a Christmas movie coming out during Thanksgiving. But the one thing that was extremely weird about it is that, like, Thanksgiving is like, it was the next in line for the big go visit people. And of course, the whole world is saying, please, everyone, don't go visit people. This is not the time to travel. And then this movie is all about getting a shit ton of people together in small enclosed places and all just yelling at each other. And I thought it was just definitely felt so foreign while watching this film. Like, what am I even watching? These people are gathering together in large groups of people.
Well, this movie was funded by the COVID-19 virus. Maybe that's why. There's always a little bit of bias that comes from the, executive producer.
Oh, and that's why they had to put it on at Thanksgiving to convince people that they wanted to do all these events when Christmas finally comes around.
I should know the answer to this already. Is there a great Thanksgiving movie?
A great Thanksgiving movie? I do not know. I want to say, does one of the Beethoven movies takes place at Thanksgiving? I feel like I remember the dog eating a giant turkey leg.
I guess I buy that, but I feel like people eat turkey even in Christmas in these kind of movies.
That's true. I don't know. Somebody listening
I'm sure
right
they
now.
exist. I'm sure there are Thanksgiving movies, but I'm completely blanking now on what they would be.
Yeah,
Is Groundhog Day Thanksgiving? No, that's Groundhog Day. Jesus Christ. That was a real thing that just happened.
Oh, well, just to make sure Steven doesn't have any flights of whatever, we should jump into this episode before things go too far off the rail.
Yeah, let's do it. Before I start naming all those Gary Marshall movies that are named after other holidays that are obviously not Thanksgiving.
What about Valentine's Day? Is that Thanksgiving?
Pretty Woman?
So we are going to listen to the trailer for Happiest Season, and then we're going to come back and give you guys a review.
I just woke up thinking about going home with you and got very excited about Christmas. I get to go meet the people that made my favorite person.
I'll always take December way over summer.
Abby, you and Harper have a perfect relationship.
She is my person, and I really want everyone to know that. I want to marry her. What are you doing on your phone?
I left a gentleman alone in my apartment, so I'm tracking him to make sure he leaves.
You're tracking him?
Yeah, I track everybody. If the NSA can do it, so can I.
I'm so excited. I can't believe I'm finally going to meet everyone. There's something that we should talk about. Hi! I didn't tell my parents. I'm gay. So who do they think I am?
This is Harper's orphan friend, Abby.
Yes, of course. They're there.
You're so brave. You don't need to be.
I cannot believe I've got all my daughters under one roof.
So her parents believe their straight daughter brought home her lesbian friend for Christmas?
Not exactly. They also think that I'm straight.
Have they ever met a lesbian?
This is why I avoid Christmas. It brings out the worst in everything.
I've always skated circles around you. I love it when they do this.
You're such a cheater!
Makes it so fun.
No!
Just be yourself, but don't lie. You're a very bad liar.
Riley! Harper. This is Abby. Abby is my orphan roommate. I am an orphan, but we live together as friends. Like acquaintances.
Oh, please don't.
Yeah.
Bells ring out on the
I can relate to being in love with somebody that is too afraid to show the world who they are.
What are you doing in the closet?
have I been good in
I'm here to rescue you.
Are you the ex-boyfriend?
Yes, I am very sexually attracted to her. A female. I nailed that, and she is fabulous.
the only girl I've got on my list. I write your name, I know it's foolish.
I am scared that if I tell them who I really am, I will lose them. Do you know how painful it's been to watch the person that I love hide me? I am not hiding you. I am hiding me.
Everybody's story is different. Just because Harper isn't ready doesn't mean she doesn't love you.
Abby, honey, are you okay?
Huh?
Morning. I'm sorry about all this mess.
Morning, kids.
Morning.
Honey, I'm headed to the office. Have a good day.
You know I will.
All right, so that was the trailer for Happiest Season. It is the story of a lesbian couple who is heading home for Christmas one year to have one of them meet the family. But the little hitch here is that one of them has not come out to their family. So they are going to have to figure out how to navigate this time with the family while balancing what they have chosen to share with their family about their relationship. Stephen Miller, what did you think of Happiest Season?
So an interesting thing I experienced when watching this movie is as the story started to go on, I felt like it was a total cliche. Like, this is a thing I've heard or seen 1,000 times before, of like one person forcing the other back in the closet because of their, conservative family and the frustrations that can cause. But then I kind of realized, like, I don't think I've ever actually seen a movie that covered this ever. So how does it feel like a cliche? That's the thing that I felt in the end, is this seems like every other movie, but then also the story it's telling is one that I think zero movies have actually tried to tell before, at least zero, well-known movies. And that puts me in a feeling where I'm like happy for representation. I'm happy for what it's doing, even though I think it's in the package of like a pretty obvious, totally fine, but not spectacular movie. A comparison I wanted to make is with Crazy Rich Asians, which is a movie that if you like just say on paper what it's doing, it's kind of like, yeah, typical rom-com, nothing to write home about. But with Crazy Rich Asians, everyone was giving their A game, and that kind of elevated it, higher than the material. This one, I think, has a couple A games and a bunch of like B or C games, and that's what I'm trying to wrestle with. So the A games, I think Kristen Stewart is great in this movie. That shouldn't be surprising. She's pretty much always great. But I think her Kristen Stewartness of like being reserved, uncomfortable, always unsure of herself, and kind of cool in a like self-effacing, questioning way is perfect for an awkward meet the parents thing where you have something to hide. Like I feel like she totally nails that role, and it's very, very easy to identify with her. Aubrey Plaza, I think, is also really great in this movie. She's actually less of an oddball than I think I've ever seen her in anything. She's kind of playing it very direct in a way that I thought was totally believable, and I don't think I've ever seen her do before. The people who were supposed to give this movie more wacky color, like Mary Holland and Alison Brie as her two sisters, they didn't work on me as well. They felt like they were really, really broad. Mary Holland, like, she always plays characters like that in sketch comedies and everything, but it was somehow like broad but muted, like, so it never hit the highs to make it actually be laugh out loud funny. Instead, it was like, I see what the movie is doing, but they're not going far enough to make me laugh, so it just felt kind of like half-assed.
Well, I think with her character, it was less about the things she did and more the way the parents reacted to her, where the humor came from, because she was just doing saying things and being outlandish, but there was something about the fact that the parents barely acknowledge her existence or only make her like fix the router in the house. Like every time they would do something, I would actually giggle more than when she was doing the joke type of things.
Yeah, it was definitely funnier the way they reacted to her. And I have a couple exceptions in the side characters are not great. I think Dan Levy playing her friend John is fantastic. Like I got a lot of laughs out of him, even though he is not in the movie all that much. Even in the trailer, like one of the biggest laughs was from him, as well as one of the more emotional moments in the movie too is also delivered by him. And Mary Steenburgen as the mom. She, I feel like, is the exact right version of that mom that wants everything to be perfect and is out of touch, but is trying to be in touch with everything. And definitely great for that part. The big problem, I think, with this movie, and I'm not necessarily blaming her, but it's the way the movie works, is Mackenzie Davis as Harper. I don't think this is the right vehicle for her at all. She can be great in movies, especially where there's some level of heightenedness about her character, like Tully or like Terminator, right? Where her being kind of uncanny or unreal is like a benefit, is a part of the story.
Yeah.
Here, like, not only is she being asked to be totally human, but she has to be so human that you can empathize with her, even as she treats her partner like shit for most of the runtime. Like, that is a hard role to fill, is to do that in a way that doesn't feel not outlandish, but doesn't feel like you're beating up on the character too much and not giving enough time for a redemption arc. And I feel like that's what the movie did with her. It doesn't. The message of this movie is at odds with the way the movie actually plays with her, because I don't believe a lot of the decisions that she's making, and the way that she plays it just seems odd to me. And so she took me out of the central tension of the movie, because the whole time I'm thinking, like, Abby should wind up with... There's one person in this movie who she should definitely wind up with instead.
Yeah, for sure.
It just makes it play funny. So it's interesting. It's like, I think it's better than middle of the road. Like, there's a lot of good stuff going on here, but just something about the central dynamic didn't really work for me. And that, you know, glad that I watched it, but I didn't leave wanting to like sing the praises of this movie. I admire what it's trying to do, and I think it kind of falters in a few key places.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch the trailer for this film, or you even just listen to it, it does feel very cliche, you know, as you were saying. And it's not the narrative beats, it's the presentation of everything about this film. This feels like a very stereotypical rom-com, and it just is flipping the script a little bit by making the center characters lesbians and having it be just about them and coming out to their family. But I think really what I'm torn between in this film is that sort of sense of, like, you know, a lot of times when you throw out rom-com, it's sort of a pejorative, right? Like, you're like, oh, this rom-com's coming out, it's going to be just a mild film that you're going to watch and be whatever. And I think that this film has moments that feel good. Like you talked about a moment ago about, you know, thinking that maybe this character should end up with somebody else. Like in like an indie romance film, this would be about somebody self-actualizing and gaining their own strength and sort of realizing that what they need is something different than what they thought they needed. And they would maybe be able to take steps to accomplish that. But no, this is a rom-com where by the end of it, everybody's supposed to be happy and hugging. And the film is going to try to set up scenarios that could have people not happy and hugging. But in the end, it's going to come around to, let's play some Christmas music and make sure everything's being happy. And I think that what I disliked about this film is times when you think it's going to go for something heavy, and then it flips around and just goes like, and everybody's happy again. And I just didn't, this film, I've said this about other films recently because I'm getting deja vu as I'm about to say it, but I feel like this film isn't brave enough to just do what it needs to do. It's trying to play in the tropes of a romantic comedy, and it can't break out of that mold. It's too scared to say, like, hey, maybe Mackenzie Davis's character is a shitty person who doesn't deserve anybody, and maybe we should make sure all the characters realize that and make sure she realizes that too, and have people deal with the consequences of their actions. And like, there are people who make verbal statements to groups of people, and then 30 seconds later, that statement is gone, and it doesn't matter anymore because the plot's got to move forward to this one thing. And I think that like, I enjoyed myself a little bit while watching this film, and I really got interested as potential alternative people came into the picture and became a thing that was going to challenge the conventional narrative that we were watching. And instead, we sort of don't get to see anything happen there. Before sitting down to watch this film, I saw a lot of like pictures being retweeted with the cast members, and I could tell before I even watched the film that all of these people had an amazing time making this together and had a lot of fun. And like, I was like, cool, I'm up for that. And I think this film delivers a little bit on that. Like, I feel that there. Like, I can see that people had fun making it, but I think that like this film sort of just doesn't, like the father has his whole thing with wanting to become mayor of the town, but this film isn't actually really concerned at all with showing what that struggle is, other than having one person seemingly having to there's a lot of stuff in this film that doesn't feel like it's a full realized universe in which this father is trying to present his perfect family while trying to run for mayor. Like there's a disconnect between the universe it's saying exists and the actual world building that it's doing, which is, I know, a silly thing to complain about when we're talking about a romantic comedy. But I just think that this film felt like there was something lacking, and there were moments that made me go like, oh, this film's actually going to do something interesting. Like, this is going to be pretty cool. And then it kind of just backpedals away from the avenues that it could go down and just gives us a very, very simple, standard, introduce a little bit of conflict and then remove that conflict, the end, happy ending. And I wasn't too happy with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I see what you're saying, and I don't know. I feel like maybe there are too many details in this movie. Like you mentioned, the father being the mayor. That is how the family is presented, and it's the way that they use to show you, hey, it would be hard to impress this family. This family's image is very fragile. But honestly, if they were just like conservative Christian parents or something, I would buy it more than this political argument, because I don't know if I think in 2020, I couldn't tell for sure where they are supposed to be. I know Harper and Abby live in Pittsburgh, and they drive for a while, and it looked like they were going, they went over a couple bridges, but I assume they're still supposed to be in Pennsylvania or Ohio or something like that. I don't know if I believe that having a lesbian daughter is supposed to be political suicide in 2020 for a mayoral candidate. I kind of feel like this has happened enough times in the past, even with prominent Republican leaders, Yeah. So right away, I didn't really buy that argument as well as I would have bought the more just kind of conventional feeling uncomfortable coming out with your parents' story. I also think the movie is trying to do something complicated, where it is trying to show that being kept in the closet for someone else is difficult, but you can't force anyone else to come out for you. But that doesn't mean it isn't toxic or harmful when they refuse to do it. It's trying to do a bunch of things, and I just feel like the rom-com genre isn't the right way to tackle a situation where there is no right answer and a bunch of complexities happening at the same time. And that's why you get that feeling that it kind of veered away from its more difficult premises at the end, because it reminds itself, hey, we're a rom-com. Rather than solve this in a complicated way, we're going to solve it with characters running around and things escalating, and then suddenly things will be fine, because that's the shape that these movies take. So it kind of feels like it's ducking out of a more interesting conversation. But
I think, I have never had to deal with what this couple is dealing with, so I'm obviously, I'm a, cis white male, saying this, but I think Harper's character, there isn't a second of runtime in this entire film where Harper's character does anything right or morally just. She is basically in the wrong the entire time,
And she's awful to Abby the whole time.
Yeah, she's just a horrible person. And the entire conceit of this film doesn't need to exist because they were already not going to spend Christmas together. And she decided, because she was so swept up in sitting on top of a roof and looking at lights, that her partner didn't even care about, that she was like, oh, you should come to Christmas with my family, and then drove all the way there before telling her that, by the way, we're going to have to pretend that we're not gay for the entire 5 days because I haven't told you that I never came out to my parents, even though I told you specifically that I did. And I feel like I never once sympathized with Harper. And I think that's the problem. Like, I understand why it's scary for her to admit to her parents, but that's different than sympathizing, because she could go off and hide herself all she wants on her own, but she willingly brought somebody else into a situation in which, like, there is no good that could come of it because she was being selfish and wanted her there for her on Christmas. There's no middle ground for me to meet her at as a character that I care about her ending. So when you try to make this film about her and not about Abby, you have lost me.
Right. And I think it wouldn't be that hard to change this movie in a way where you can identify more with her. Like, rather than her basically tricking Abby into coming and then revealing at the last minute, it could be that Abby knows that Harper isn't out to her family, and they convince each other that Christmas is going to be fine. It won't be too hard. It'll only be 5 days. Let's come anyway. Yeah. And then over the course of being there, the tension of her not being out and the different ways that not only is she not out, but she just in general acts differently, becomes someone else around her family. Like, that is a very relatable premise, even to a cis straight white guy, right? Or
even the better way to give Harper the benefit of the doubt and not feel bad about her being bad is, what if Abby just showed up unannounced to surprise her? And now Harper didn't introduce the problem. She is now having to react to Abby's presence. And now it's a bouncing game of, look, I love you and I'm happy you came to my Christmas, but also you should have told me you were coming because you don't want to be here. And now I don't know how this is going to, like, then it's like, okay, we all fucked up in some way. Now, how do we just manage being in it? Like, that's a way to put everybody on the same level. Everybody did something wrong, and now we're all just trying to survive it. And I think that would easily more humanize Harper and make it a thing that I could, like, root for her, which is something I literally never did once in this movie.
Right. Yeah, because there are a lot of universal feelings here if you get past the reason Abby is there in the first place, which is, we've all probably taken people to spend holidays with us and have spent holidays with significant others, and there always is that give and take, where someone is different around their family than they are with you. There are things about their life that are maybe edited for consumption, and being caught in the middle of that can be difficult. And especially there are scenes here where Harper is with her friends at a bar, and Abby just feels like she doesn't fit in and she's not really getting the time that she should have. And here she is doing a kindness by being here, and that kindness is not being met with an acknowledgement of the difficulty. Instead, that kindness is being met with a kind of her feeling like a burden, And I think that is an extremely relatable feeling where there is no right or wrong person. Like, that is the dynamic of families being messy and your past being messy and the way you kind of revert when you're around people that you haven't seen in a while. All of that is super interesting and ripe for, rom-com. I just think the premise, like you say, it makes Harper too obviously wrong. And then I feel like it, again, I'm also not a gay person, so I can't speak to this, but the response that this movie has been having from queer critics has been that it's kind of excusing toxic behavior on Harper's behalf because it just puts a stamp at the end that says, like, coming out is hard, the end. That it's like, coming out is hard, and you also were a total asshole to your girlfriend, And I feel like that just doesn't fit with the tone of the movie, which is why I feel like they could have made this movie anything but a rom-com, or they could have stuck with rom-com and not made the offenses be as extreme to each other. But the combination just makes it not totally play right.
Yeah. It is kind of funny that both this film and Hillbilly Elegy, like the entire thesis of the film is delivered by a single character in one line of dialogue, and the rest of the film kind of doesn't matter.
That one line of dialogue, though, in this movie at least really worked on me. Even though the moment he started talking, I was like, actually, there's a couple lines of dialogue, but both of them, the moment the characters started talking, I was like, I get this movie is summarizing the theme to me. This is a thing I'm not supposed to like, but I like it. I like it right now. Both movies also, spoiler for Hillbilly Elegy, no matter what I felt about the premise, the credit scenes that are showing photos got me. Like, they worked on me, so I'm just a sucker.
Wait, the fake Instagram posts in the credits of this got you?
Yeah, worked on me. Mostly because of Mary Steenburgen, because she is such a mom character, and the way moms can so quickly do a 180 when someone they love is suddenly involved, like that worked on me.
Yeah, no, I mean, I thought she was great in the film, and I did enjoy her stuff. It's just I was like sarcastically while the credits were going, I was like, ooh, Instagram time. So like I wasn't even taking it seriously. So it's just funny to hear that it got you, because the tone I was in while watching it happen in real time was not there at all.
Now, what if while the movie was scrolling through the Instagram feed, you suddenly saw photos of Ingrid from California at the same time, and it turned out that this movie lives in the same universe?
Now that would be very interesting. Though her character is way more mature in this film than it was in that.
Yeah, but then you would learn that whole character has just been like stalking Kristen Stewart's character and showed up here to try to become her friend.
That is interesting. That would
doesn't fit with her being Harper's ex, but look, I haven't thought about this theory very long.
Yeah. Or just the distress that she received from Harper made her like imprint on the first person that befriended her after that, and then that's what caused her to go up. So this is her recovery state.
Yep.
This is her like, I'm through that. That was a phase. I'm done being worried about this. I'm totally fine and mature now.
Yeah. But yeah, give me more Aubrey Plaza in a serious is a stretch. This isn't a serious role, but in a role where she is not a comic relief side character, because I feel like she has more range than I gave her credit for, and that's cool to learn.
She's like the Silent Bob character in Chasing Amy. Like, she's super mature, knows exactly what the hell's going on, and is just gonna like say exactly what she needs to say at the right moment to like explain to the character what's going on. So I don't know. I really, really enjoyed her in, like, she is a side character who's there to give backstory, and she's the one you root for. Like, what is wrong with this movie?
Yeah.
But
I think
anyways.
she's just that good.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. Any last thoughts about this movie, Steven?
Not really. There was a scene involving fish, a repeated gag involving fish that made me laugh every time.
Yep, me too.
And that's it.
Cool. So we are going to go ahead and get to our verdicts then, Steven. If you're going to give us a must-see, recommend with a caveat, wait for until, pass with a caveat, or a must-avoid, what would you give it?
Because of the season, I'm bumping it up to recommend with a caveat. I did find this to be mostly heartwarming. I enjoyed it. It's an easy movie to like, and there's a lot of good stuff in it. Like the cast is at least mostly doing pretty well. Again, a few people are giving it their A game. A few people would have rather they maybe cast somebody else, but that's fine. And even though I don't think the movie really sticks the landing with the themes that it's bringing up, I think it was interesting to see a movie talk about this and do it in that kind of lighthearted rom-com way, because that sometimes betrays more confidence than being, as we're going to talk about with our next movie, deadly serious when maybe your theme, like your subject matter, doesn't deserve it. So I thought it was a charming enough movie. I just think it fails in some key points, and the message it wants to drive home is a little bit muddy. But still, I was glad I watched it.
For me, I'm gonna leave it at a wait for rental. I enjoyed watching this movie. Like it has enough funny beats to kind of carry me through as far as like paying attention and like having a little bit of fun. But I think just the character of Harper is so infuriating and is really bad to most of the people around her. And I never felt like I should root for her, and I don't like what she gets at the end of the film. So I think it's a hard film for me to really. I found this film actively frustrating at times, which maybe is exactly what it's wanting you to do. I don't think that it is, though, but I just wait for rental. But yeah, that's going to do it for a review of Happiest Season. Stephen Miller, people want to find you throughout the week. Where can they do that?
If people want to find me, they can find me dangling from a roof, but don't worry because there will be something below me, so it'll be funny that I'm dangling from it instead of a near-death experience from which I don't want to make out with my girlfriend right after. Or sdavidmiller.com or twitter.com/sdavidmiller.
People can find me at ChristopherInRealLife.com or Twitter.com/ChristopherIRL. You can find the podcast over at thespoilerwarning.com, where you can get a bunch of the back episodes of the show. If you want to subscribe to the show, you can do so on Overcast, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, or wherever podcasts are found. If you want to know when the episodes go live, you can follow us at Twitter.com/SpoilerWarning, Facebook.com/TheSpoilerWarning, or Instagram.com/TheSpoilerWarning. If you want to get a hold of us directly, you can send an email to fans@thespoilerwarning.com, or you can use the contact form on our site. Music for this episode will come from the soundtrack to Happiest Season, so hopefully you're enjoying that. I assume it's Christmas music. Yep, we are going to take off right now, and we are going to go figure out whether Hillbilly Elegy is a good Terminator or bad Terminator. So we'll see you then. Bye.
Bye. But we have established Mackenzie Davis is an okay Terminator.